Hi, and welcome back to the Etsy Consultant Podcast. I always say I'm going to try and do these podcasts regularly, but I never seem to be able to. It's always 2 months or something like that between each episode, and I do apologise for this lack of consistency with my outputs. Please forgive me. In today's episode, I want to bring something over that I do occasionally on YouTube. It's called Off the Record. So Off the Record on YouTube is a chance for me to go behind the scenes, look at some of the more controversial, confusing, darker areas of e-commerce and Etsy, and give myself a chance to talk more freely about what I think about what's going on in the Etsy marketplace and in the space where everyone's trying to sell Etsy sellers courses and access to paid Facebook groups and all this sort of thing. And I like to class myself as a beacon of light. You know, this is my full-time job and I've been doing it a long time, and I like to uphold the standard of what I do and look at what else is going on around me. So this is the first episode of Off the Record for my podcast, and I want to talk about what goes on behind the scenes with sellers, so Etsy sellers that come to me, and tell you about some of the stories and things that, you know, I've never mentioned before. Some of it's eye-opening, some of it's quite distressing actually. Let's go through this. So welcome to episode 1 of Off the Record. So Etsy sellers come to me often in an utter state of confusion. They are confused because platforms like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok are the places that most people go to get information about what to do when selling on Etsy. You know, how do I sell on Etsy? I don't know. Let's go to YouTube. Let's go to Instagram. Let's go to TikTok. And people start to consume a lot of YouTube content. It's mostly YouTube. YouTube's the one. Instagram and TikTok, people find people to follow on there and then end up on their YouTube channels. And YouTube is the one. And I'm sure you know, you don't need me to tell you, if you go and look on YouTube, you'll just see endless videos on how to do this SEO, how to sell that product to make $10,000 a month. You know, follow me and learn my secrets and tips, join my course, join my Facebook group. People, first of all, get very confused, and they arrive at me after they spent time with all these other people. This is the bit that's frustrating, because the reason why it's frustrating is not only are people confused, but they are wasting huge amounts of money in their confusion. So they're paying a lot of money to be confused. And this is the bit that really gets me. Because I've got a saying in the job that I do, I'm the guy that you speak to last. And a lot of the time, unfortunately, it's true. I'm the guy that you speak to last. You go, you know, clients go to everybody else before they find me. And when they find me, they're incredibly confused, and they've spent often thousands of dollars on badly put together courses, inaccurate information. There's a couple of people on YouTube, I'm not going to call them out, but yeah, there's a couple of people on YouTube, a couple of women on YouTube that sell very expensive courses and content. And I've had to pick up the pieces from these people. So last year, I think I dealt with about 20 to 30, and that's conservative, clients who came to me after spending between $6,000 and $12,000 on these people. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So I would say in the time that I've been doing this job, I've probably worked with people that have spent collectively somewhere between $250,000 and $500,000 on these people that sell dreams. They just sell dreams. They're not selling reality. They're not selling something that's even worth a tenth of the value that they put on their material. It's just worthless. It really is. And when they come to me, when these people come to me, they've spent all this money and they book a 60-minute call with me. Often they can't afford anything else. Remember, they spent $6,000, $8,000, $10,000, $12,000. And the really scary thing, here's the really scary thing. These people that take the money put the customers on payment plans, not with them, but with banks. So that makes it easier to invest large amounts of money in courses and guidance that's never going to help you. And when they get to me, they can barely afford a 60-minute call with me. But that 60-minute call will literally save their business life. And often beyond that, I don't say this lightly, I'm not saying this to be big-headed, but I've turned around people's lives, saved people's lives. I've got emails, letters from people that say, thank you for, actually showing me what the right direction is. So people come to me, they can barely afford the call. And once I explain the confusion to them, once I explain that you've been badly misled, you've effectively been sold a dream that is never ever going to become reality. When I look at the recommendations and the advice given and what's been told to people by these people selling expensive courses and one-to-one consultations and so on, the advice is just garbage. I honestly, I'm not using that word lightly, just garbage. And designed to take people's money by selling you something that looks right, that could sound right. Oh yeah, this is going to help me, But for some reason, collectively, a lot of people lose their minds when it comes to the money and think somehow handing over $10,000 for a course is logical. Let me be clear here, right? This is how illogical spending $6,000, $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 on a course is. If someone comes to me and says, I'm going to spend $10,000 on this course and a Facebook group, I will get on a plane. I will fly to wherever you are in the world. I will spend a week with you, one-to-one, full-time, for a week, for that kind of money. Because that's the only value that I could give that is justified for that sheer level of expense. And that puts into perspective how bad all this course stuff is. I'm not knocking course creators per se. I have courses, but they're priced reasonably. They're not ridiculous prices that have no grounding in reality whatsoever. So I hope that puts that bit in perspective. So people arrive with me, can barely afford a call. The first thing I do is explain the confusion, explain just how far down a pointless rabbit hole they've been taken. And then my next job, and this is the message of this podcast, I instill belief back into those people. That's that's the most important job I do every single day. I put belief back into people who have lost it, have had it crushed, have had it obliterated through losing money. I breathe belief back into people that, number one, they can do it. Number one, they can do what it is that they want to do. And maybe more importantly, they can trust me. They can trust me to be the guide, the correct guide and mentor for them to get them to where they need to go. And often, one of the questions that I ask people that come to me, even before they're a client, they say, you know, Nick, you know, I've been through this, I've spent money here, I've lost this, my business is in trouble, you know, whatever is going on. And one of the questions that I ask them is, I say, okay, I'm going to click my fingers and take us forward 12 months from now. I want you to tell me what your successful Etsy business looks like, right? Now, when I started asking this question, I was expecting lofty responses. I was expecting people to say, yeah, I want $10,000 a month, $20,000 a month in a year's time from now. But actually, the responses I got were really, really down to earth, and they continue to be down to earth today. People wanting to earn $1,000, $1,500, $2,000. Most of the responses that I get are under $5,000. Remember, these are people that have tried to find people to help them to build their Etsy stores. They're not established stores, they're not stores that have already made 6, 7 figures or anything like that. They're looking for somebody to take them through the process, and their goals are quite reasonable, very reasonable actually. And honestly, when you look at goals like earning, you know, a lot of people say $2,000 to $5,000 a month. They're working part-time or full-time, often in the United States, and they want a way to, first of all, supplement their income and then hopefully shift over so that they can leave their jobs. This is true. A lot of people do contact me saying, look, I've had enough of the corporate world. I really don't want to do this anymore. And I have to make a decision. Can I get them over to where they need to be? Can I create this new world for them and move them into that world and back them and know as much as I can that they will make it? And that's really, really hard. It's a huge responsibility on my shoulders. And I'll be honest with you guys, I don't take on a lot of the people I talk to. So when people come to me, I do these free discovery calls. When people come to me, often I don't work with them beyond that call because I don't see a way that I can get, given what they're telling me they want to do, I don't think I can get them to $2,000 to $5,000 a month because it's just not viable. And one of the prime reasons why it's not viable is time. They don't have enough time. Because if you try to do print-on-demand t-shirts or, you know, print-on-demand mugs, which I would never recommend anyone do, it's an absolute nightmare. But let's just say people come to me, this is what they want to do. And I can only guide and offer my opinion, but I can't change people's minds if that's what they want to do. And the chances of success are so low anyway on things like POD t-shirts and mugs and phone cases. And then they say to me, I ask them, how much time do you have a day? And they say, an hour or two. And we've really got to step back at this point and say to ourselves, what's the relationship between time and revenue? Because there is one. You can't put 1 or 2 hours a day into an Etsy business and expect $5,000 a month or $4,000 a month or $3,000 a month. It's not going to happen. It just literally will not happen. And so this process of helping people often falls over because they've got unrealistic expectations around how much time it takes to earn a meaningful amount of income. Now, of course, as we're talking now, and you're listening to me now, you know it's not true, right? You know you can't put an hour or two a day in and get $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month out. You're never going to do it. But that unrealistic expectation, again, has been fueled by YouTube and funneled into YouTube by Instagram and TikTok. And I don't know how to put it in a way that's nice or politically correct. Actually, no, I do know. There's a lot of vulnerable people out there. There's a lot of vulnerable people out there who trust too easily and trust people on YouTube too easily. And fortunately for me, I've built my trust over 10 years. You know, when people come to me, they do say, Nick, how can I trust you? And I say, look, I'm the only person in the world, Etsy consultant in the world, who's got Trustpilot reviews. Go and look at them. They're my real clients, you know. I've got reviews on Upwork, reviews on Fiverr going back 9 years. I'm fully vettable. But people trust way too easily when there's no backing to YouTube videos beyond why you should trust those people. And once trust is broken, so I'm picking up these pieces, I'm trying to help people once their trust has been broken, once they've spent thousands of dollars, once they're jaded and, you know, they're confused about whether they can even make a success of their business. They don't believe it. So I realized, I think about a month or two ago, the job that I do with people day to day, week to week, I do 300 discovery calls every single month. And my job is so much more than a consultant. It is literally, people have said to me, it's like I'm a therapist. Like I'm a therapist. I'm not saying I am a therapist. Of course I'm not. I'm a consultant who's been around a long time in the world of Etsy. But actually, I've realized that it is a form of therapy. Getting people to believe in themselves, getting people to realize in the right way the mistakes they've made, but here's a path that you can follow that's real, that has structure, and getting them to believe that and believe in themselves and put fire back in these people's bellies to go out and start making a business that's going to work, and giving them the structure daily, weekly, monthly of what they should do is so much more than just being an Etsy consultant. I talk to people who've got ADHD, mental health problems. I have clients that I work with that sometimes can't make consultations with me that they've paid for because they're in a bad way. They're having a bad time. And I certainly couldn't do this job now 20 years ago. I've had to walk my life and go through my traumas and my life circumstances to be able to work with people in a caring, conscientious, understanding way. This is the reality. You know, this is the reality. It's a deeply human thing when I'm working with people, and I always want to make sure that I support them and give them every chance to make a success of themselves. And giving people belief in themselves and giving them a direction is a big, big part of the work that I do. And I feel proud of that. I feel proud of that. There's so much that goes unsaid in my day-to-day work with my clients and the people that I interact with. I want to bring more of this to you. Maybe it's interesting, I don't know. Let me know if this podcast is interesting to you. I think it's the longest one I've ever done, and there's a part of me that wants to spend more time talking behind the scenes, like in Off the Record, this new series on my podcast, and bring more stories to light about what goes on with sellers behind the scenes in Etsy, and how it's such a human experience, way more than just how do I make you more sales? You know, what have you got to do with your branding? Should you use Etsy ads or not? You know, it's so much more than that. Okay, I'll leave it there. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this podcast. You can let me know on my YouTube channel. Just say, hey Nick, listen to your Off the Record podcast episode. This is what I think. Good or bad? Honestly, good or bad? If this is boring, let me know. Okay, I want to provide the best meaningful content I can. And do follow me on here for my podcast. If you haven't subscribed, I think 56% of everyone that listens hasn't subscribed. If you got value from this, if you got entertainment, enjoyment, please subscribe. It's free, doesn't cost anything, and it's a way to acknowledge that this is good for you. This is helpful. So, as always, I will thank you for listening, and I will try, and I always say this, but I will try to get another episode out as soon as I can. So thank you for listening, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Goodbye.